All right, I would like to call to order the Council Operations, IT, and Public Transportation Committee. Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call?
And just as a reminder to all who are in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Mr. Schlepper,
Here.
Ms. Simon, Mr. Castleberry,
Here.
Mr. Gallagher. Mr. Gallagher is absent at the moment. Mr. Sweeney,
Present.
there is a quorum.
All right, is there any public comment?
No, Mr. Chair, no one is signed in.
All right, I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the June 17th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, ayes have it. Matters referred to committee, Madam Clerk.
Resolution number 2025-0227, authorizing an amendment to contract number 2777 with AT&T Corporation doing business as AT&T Enterprises for session initiation protocol services and the replacement of 2 individual circuits on the Cisco infrastructure.
All right, fantastic. Folks here to speak to the resolution?
Is it on? Okay. Good afternoon. Kristen Caspar with the Department of Information Technology. This request is to renew our SIP services. SIP stands for Session Initiation Protocol. SIP is used by the county for our telephone dial tone service. It's used to make external telephone calls for the voice over IP phones. And currently it supports over 7,000 handsets, multiple call centers, and our virtual faxing services. And we do have Alan Kilgore, our operations manager, here if you do have any questions.
Great. I had a question just a little bit about the potential cost savings. Someone had mentioned that, using the internet or online services for our calls as opposed to more hard phone lines and things like that represents a cost savings. Is that accurate? Maybe you kind of bring me up to speed on why we've chosen this particular vendor.
So at this point, this is a renewal of the existing services that we have today. So it is in the county's roadmap over the next 2 to 3 years to research and implement a cloud-based phone provider. So with that, since the server infrastructure will not be on site, it would be in the cloud. That's when we plan to review the actual dial tone service to see if it makes more sense to also migrate that to the cloud. So since we have that big, large infrastructure modification coming up soon, rather than re-architecting something for the short term where we have a longer 3-year plan, it just seemed to make sense to kind of align that all together with the 3-year roadmap.
Okay, for us to migrate to that particular cloud-based, provider, what are the advantages of moving that direction as opposed to kind of where we've currently been?
So in terms of moving to the cloud, you do get additional redundancies. So one of the vendors that we've been looking at specifically has 5 regional data centers across the United States in terms of keeping those telephone calls within the boundaries of the United States, and they are fully redundant. So if one of their data centers went down, they automatically fail over to those other data centers versus us only having the one presence in our Columbus data center for that voice infrastructure.
Okay, fantastic. Do any of my colleagues have any questions?
I have a question. Thank you. So the time frame, this is a period extending to 2030 then?
Yes.
Okay.
Inside of the existing agreement, it allowed for a 5-year extension period, so we leveraged that verbiage specifically in the existing agreement. So we may not execute on all 5 years specifically based on if the modernization requires us to change, but I understand that inside of our county contracts, we have that out clause for convenience, so we may have to execute on that.
And you expect this to be different the next time too, right? After this expires perhaps, or no? The nature
we're
of
not
the
that-
technology or?
Yeah, we're not sure in
Not
terms
sure.
of all the architecture of that to this point, because there are some benefits to keeping portions of this in-house where we still may route the calls into our data center, but then route them back out to the cloud. So haven't quite understand all the pros and cons of doing so yet in that investigation, but that'll come to light over the next 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Chair. Thank you for being here. Appreciate the presentation. I was curious, as far as when you say replacing the 2 individual circuits, you're talking physical circuits where is that the infrastructure of this is located?
So the county does have 25 to 30 various facilities, and they all have the Cisco telephones in them. And those buildings connect via a wide area network back to the data center. So that's where the presents are for this SIP service. Both of those circuits are within the data center specifically.
Thank you. Wasn't really sure how the whole structure worked, but appreciate the
Understood.
info.
Yeah, Councilman?
Mr. Chairman, thanks for all you do. Don't get to see you too often. This helps a lot, right? You're happy with the contract you have now? That's why I want to extend it?
Yes, yes. In terms of the service, over the previous, I've been in this role about 4.5 years, and the service has not got down once. So in terms of reliability, it is excellent.
And through the chair, the vendor interaction with you and your team is only on as-needed basis?
Oh, no,
or regular? Tell me a little bit about how often do you talk and stuff?
Cuyahoga County does have a dedicated AT&T rep that's specifically to government. It's the same rep for the city of Cleveland and lives here locally in the Cleveland, Ohio area. Has been the account manager for over 20 years specifically for Cuyahoga County. And we meet on a biweekly basis to discuss all things related to AT&T services since we have such a large agreement with them.
And through the chair, it's not just going down, it's what new things are out there, how can we improve the system, how can we help better communicate with whoever's out there and how to be as safe as possible stuff.
Yes, and correct. And this AT&T rep has been a great advocate for Cuyahoga County specifically. So in terms of the rate for this specific service is there's the flat rate that is charged for all customers in the private sector, and then Cuyahoga County receives a specific percentage discount off of it, whatever their list price is. And in terms of AT&T was to raise their rate specifically because inflation over time for its renewal, but they opted to up the percentage discount to make it so the base rate for the service will remain the same for this additional 5-year period. So, yeah, and he advocated for that specifically for us to try to, keep our costs where they're at, so.
That's very cool. Why don't you give him a shout out? Give him his name.
Scott Maurer with AT&T.
Scott Maurer, we like him. Through the chair, who'd be the competitor if they went out to RFP for the next, after this contract, we didn't go to the 5 years? Is it Spectrum or Comcast or
Yeah, it
who else
would
would?
be, whoever the larger, major telecom carriers are, such as, Spectrum, Verizon, AT&T would obviously rebid. Often you may see some smaller companies that aren't necessarily a tier 1 provider, across this nation. But yeah, we expect to probably receive a few bids on that. Whoever has the physical presence here in the Cleveland, Ohio area, the infrastructure to support it.
And through the chair, so after this 5-year, plan on going out to bid?
Yes, or it would be rolled into that modernization where some of the cloud providers that would host the Cisco phone side of it have the ability to also provide dial tone service directly out of their data center. So we may have to, whatever that cloud provider is that's bid on, have to pick one of their vendors that already has a presence in that cloud provider's data center. So it may steer some of that conversation.
And through the chair, I'm nodding my head like I pretend like I understand what you're saying. Thank you. I just want to ask some questions because you took the time to come up here, and now I have a fuller understanding, but also the viewing audience has a fuller understanding. So thanks, both of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, given the time frame, and I know that we're at July 1st, are you seeking a second reading suspension for this?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. All right. That being said, is there any, well, let me vote on this first. All in favor, I need to do for second reading suspension. We need to vote, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Just one.
I'll make a motion to move forward under second reading suspension.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great. The ayes have it. Is there any miscellaneous business? All right. We are adjourned. Thank you so much for coming.